at the end of April, I guess.
Yeah.
And it was a week or two before the conference, and it still had not even shipped yet. So I was like, hey, I kind of ordered this because of this thing that I'm doing, so it would be really awesome if you could kind of get this happening sooner rather than later.
All right, and we are live, looks like. Yeah.
Yep. Awesome.
All right.
Great.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Death of the Roguelike 10, finally. I'm Rob Parker.
What? Hey, wait a second. Okay, well,
what's
I'm
wrong,
Harrison Massey.
Harrison?
Why don't you tell me about CGSA?
Well, it was fantastic. It was in Canada.
Yep.
Which is not where you are from.
No.
No.
I'm from America.
What's America like, Harrison?
I don't know. There are seas of pus. It is kind of incredible. Like, I know you see a lot of these rolling hills and with pus everywhere. It's insane.
That's fascinating because I am just standing like knee deep in blood right now. What I could actually do with a little pus. Anyway, I'm Harrison Massey, and
yes,
he is Rob Parker, and he is going to tell you about CGSA.
Yeah, so CGSA is the Canadian Game Studies Association. So yes, it is an academic conference about game studies. In the past few years, I have become somewhat, I don't want to say embittered, but skeptical of academia as a institution. And through a lot of other experiences, just in terms of, I'm not quite sure that this is quite the thing that I want to do for the rest of my life, but like maybe in some capacity. But the whole like go and get your PhD and go and be a professor is just not a thing. It's not a viable route. And right now, just looking at like doing the PhD stuff, so I've been known to cast like a little bit of side eye at academia every now and then.
A little bit.
And as much as this is, putatively sort of a game studies focused stream, one of my rules that I've set is as little preparation as possible. So literally I came in from the gym tonight at about 7:20 and had a shower and then got out of the shower, and now I have a beer and a delicious looking sandwich that I can't really eat for another half an hour or so while I'm talking into this microphone.
So I don't know. I actually ate dinner during one of these streams. I just like
really?
whenever you were talking, I just muted my mic and took a few bites.
Oh, that's a smart idea.
And, yeah. So I'll try to do talking tonight, so you can eat your sandwich.
Yeah. Well, no worries. I had enough bites, and I'm sure it'll keep. So I went to the conference. A friend of mine, Ludic Dreamer, I met him in my master's at Laurier, and he was the one who kind of half convinced me to come to UW and do another master's.
This is his fault. Okay.
Yeah, this is partially his fault. He is one of the few people that I've met in grad school that is completely put together. It is kind of incredible. I'm not sure he's human. Like, he went from basically like the army to his master's. He's doing this all ass backwards. And he might wind up back in the army as a result of getting his PhD, looking at Call of Duty as sort of a propaganda tool. So one day I just joked that, like, CSIS is just going to show up and throw a black bag over his head and I'm never going to see him again. But he's phenomenal. He does a lot of stuff with terror management theory, like a super smart guy to the point where I will just message him panicked things of, like, what about this? What about that? And he's been really phenomenal in terms of just being supportive and not just being like, why are you troubling me with this?
Yeah, everyone needs a guy like that. Yeah. I've got Dean Terry, who's a musician, artist, and professor, and all around amazing dude. He's the if you're following me, you might have seen me tweet about this app I'm working on, New Arc, and I've been working on with that. And it's a MIDI. It's a iOS music controller, which is completely the opposite of anything we are doing here. I lead a weird life.
Yeah.
Anyway.
As I think do most people who are trying to make the whole grad studies thing work, but then still have a job and a life outside of it.
Yeah, just a life at all, really.
Yeah, so like Jason last year, in the span of a week, got married and defended his dissertation. Like, on one Friday he defended his dissertation, the next week he got married.
That is
Yeah, and my wife, like, we got married about a month before that, and he, like, we were wrecks, and I had taken time off school to go and do this, and we were both just, and he was just, like, completely placid. Yeah, he's I don't know, he's not human.
Yeah,
he's a man who processes, like, takes food and then spits out theory. It's incredible. But, like, actual practical stuff, like, he looks a lot at, like, cognitive psychology and stuff that, like, yeah, he's interesting guy. So he is a phenomenal human being who asked me, he was just asking for people who wanted to talk about death in video games. And I said, sure, okay. And so I rounded out a panel with him, Megan Blythe Adams, who is one of the editors at First Person Scholar, of which I am and Jason is, and then Mark Ouellette. Mark Ouellette is his last name. He goes by the Twitter handle Burned Prof, so you can kind of get a sense. He's, I think, an instructor at Western. I'm not sure offhand, but he's really interesting dude. Finally got to meet him. Finally got to meet Megan, who's just an incredible human being. Because for the most part, it had been through Skype calls that we were doing First Person Scholar stuff. So. Yeah, that was the thing is, you know, on the one hand, I'd figured CGSA would be really cool from an academic perspective because as much as I side-eye the institution of academia, the ideas and the stuff that's in there is really interesting to me. And so, yeah, Jason kind of gave myself and Mike a ride there and back both days. And I'm already, I guess, apparently half on the books for CGSA 2015 to do a panel. So
nice.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I had a talk with one of the organizers today on Twitter about Netrunner and kind of doing something that's less of a formal paper and more of a, hey, let's talk about Netrunner and like let's do a walkthrough / demo of this game and kind of talk about it because it's really fascinating from a game design perspective, and it seems to have taken up the imaginations of a lot of people who are mostly video game scholars, which is kind of neat. And it's partially, I think, because it's, you know, all cyberpunky and whatnot.
Yeah. Looking up airfare Dallas to Canada.
Yeah, the next CGSA is in Ottawa. So, the thing is, CGSA is part of Congress, or Congress of the Humanities and Social Sciences, which is this gigantic mega conference that just kind of shows up and takes over a university. It was at Waterloo. It was at Laurier a couple of years ago, and it was so huge that parts of it were taking place at Waterloo, which was like 2 kilometers down the road from Laurier. So it was kind of a nightmare getting between different panels and stuff like that. And Marcelo Gorman had his cow set up, and he was talking about the Critical Media Lab and was trying to get a bunch of games set up. And anyways, yeah, so I went to CGSA. It was a 2-day thing, but it was like under the umbrella of a bunch of other conferences that are taking place at the same time. It was taking place at Brock University in St. Catharines, which is not far from the border. And yeah, really nice campus. If you want a reason to dislike it or maybe cast some shade on this conference, Dennis Dyack did come from there, and that's why they've got they're starting to lean a little bit more into game studies stuff apparently. As far as I can understand, there's a lot of hope that there's going to be another Silicon Knights that maybe doesn't implode or pick a fight with Epic come out of there. But looking at the way the AAA market's going these days, I'm not super optimistic.
Yeah, it's weird. That's like another discussion for another episode of another podcast.
Yeah. So the first day, I guess Mike Hancock talked about Deadline horror games. And he talked about it came from the desert, Pathologic, and Dead Rising, and the idea that the horror is not necessarily from the monsters, but from these time limits, and the fact that the game is kind of indifferent to your actions in a lot of ways. And yeah, I talk with Mike a lot. He's between Jason and him, I just kind of turn to them if I have any questions about video game studies. And yeah, there was a whole bunch of other stuff. I guess the highlight for me, in the middle of Jessica Alderid's talk, there's a whole panel on BioShock. And so in the middle of Jessica Aldred's talk about sort of BioShock as this this franchise, essentially, like the talking about the movie plans and kind of setting up what's his face as sort of an auteur. Ken
Levine.
Setting up Ken Levine as this auteur. And they all had some really interesting things to say about BioShock, which I didn't think was possible anymore, but they did it. And then I think the panel was closed out with Phelan Parker, who did a version of what he wrote for First Person Scholar, which I think is part of his dissertation. That's another guy where he just seems to spit out phenomenal ideas, and then does a whole bunch of other stuff. Like, he just recently had a kid, and I'm just like, how are you doing all of these things? How are you looking well rested and completely put together, and I can barely put together a paper for this thing? And anyways, in the middle of that talk, I realized that there was another panel on roguelikes, which I didn't even think was possible. So I was trying to figure out when ours was, and trying to, okay, how many hours do I have left to make this thing coherent? And at a certain point, I actually just cast that aside and was like, this is not an argument, it's mostly a series of observations, let's go. In the middle of that, I realized that the other talk was being done by Mark Johnson, who is the developer for Ultima Ratio Regum.
Right, yeah, you were telling me about this.
Who came all the way from the UK. He's actually at the University of York, and came all the way here. He's in the middle of his PhD on sociology, and gave a talk on the semiotics of the roguelike, which was... It took 2 beers before I wandered over to him, because I was basically almost at fanboy levels of... I have looked at this game, and it's in alpha, and you don't even have monsters in it, to the best of my knowledge, but holy crap, this looks like if Dwarf Fortress is looking for a contender, but something that actually looks like it's something that will be coherent when you wind up playing it, rather than something you really have to grind on and put 10 hours into and just struggle with until you you understand what you're doing.
Yeah.
It looks glorious. He's got a lot of ANSI graphics in there, which is interesting. And he did a really phenomenal talk on his blog. He posted his PowerPoint presentation, and one of the slides that I probably laughed entirely too long and hard at was screenshots of monsters from Dark Souls and Skyrim, and then he's like, all right, now I'm going to show you HD versions of these monsters from roguelikes, and they were all just capital letters of different colors, which was really awesome. But he really just he brought some really interesting things to the table in terms of how do roguelike developers kind of categorize their monsters? And he used the example of the Titan, and how it's a different letter in a bunch of different games depending on the way that the authors kind of approach this menagerie of monsters. So is it a large humanoid? Is it whatever? So it was a really fascinating talk, and he had far more theory in his than I did. Because for the most part, I kind of came at this and I was winging it from a literary genre theory perspective, which is why my website is Rap Game Back Teen, which is a joke that myself and 5 people get, and I'm probably the only one who actually laughs at it. Still.
No, 2.
Yeah.
And I look up Back Teen, but now I...
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. But yeah, so Back Teen talks a lot about genre as relentlessly dialogic, so everything is always interconnected with everything else, and it's kind of inescapable to talk about that stuff. And what he does warn against is the dangers of having this static definition, because that's always historically contingent, and the dangers of using canon to define your genre, because at a certain point, he talks a lot about the novel, but when he says the novel, he's talking about almost a historical process more than a book with with chapters in it. So people have used his theory to talk about film, actually a fair bit. So I was kind of bringing some of that stuff in, And at a certain point, I'm like, okay, there are video game studies theories out there that do this better than Bactine, unfortunately. I'm sure there's a way that I can bring Bactine in at some point, but I should probably start trying to convert the way that I'm talking about this to a way that makes a bit more sense. So I took another look at Ian Bogost's unit operations, which he talks about like games as made up of tiny units, or like a variety of units that don't necessarily make meaning unto themselves, but make meaning like in constellation with other things. And so looking at, the Berlin interpretation, and, what does it mean to be in academia and talking about roguelikes and, procedural death labyrinths. Because I think for the most part, like, mainstream criticism does need to dispense with the term roguelike, because it doesn't mean anything to anybody who doesn't know what a roguelike already is. It doesn't tell you anything outside of itself. And even then, like, all of the general pitfalls of, like, when you say roguelike, you're not even talking about games that are like Rogue, which is actually a reasonably simple game, and
Yeah, you're talking about games that are like NetHack.
Yeah, essentially. And NetHack is far more complicated and weird. Which is funny, because in a lot of cases, like, Ancient Domains of Mystery owes a fair bit to interactive fiction, but people don't really talk about it that way, because then you have to start talking about story and, like, adventure stuff and less about mechanics, which, when you talk to coders about roguelikes, the appeal for them is that it's a bunch of gnashing mechanical teeth that just chew the player up. Yeah,
as a coder.
Yeah. And I totally get, why that's super appealing, and it's why it's such an appealing thing for, if you're an indie developer, content generation takes time. So if you have something that kind of does that for you and it does it competently, then that's a huge amount of load off, and you can kind of keep reusing similar parts of that, later on down the line.
It almost gets to a point of, like, of purity too, because I think Roguelike Radio's NetHack episode, they were talking about Sokoban and how it's so many people don't like it, and so many NetHack forks take it out because it is the one thing in the game that is not procedurally generated. Like, there's 8 levels that can be chosen from, and it's going to be like one of those level sets. Like, it's going to be like one of those levels on each of the four Sokomon levels every time.
Yeah,
and it goes in and they're not just talking about, like, the technical aspects of that. They're talking like they talk about it almost as if it's like a spiritual thing. Like, this defies what NetHack should be, what a roguelike should be.
Yeah. And like Thomas Biscup was talking about, I read a recent blog post from him, and I made a random tweet, mostly based off of what Antipixelante Anna Anthropy said, where, like, I guess she was playing just a random roguelike, and they'd, like, had misgendered her, and yeah, that seemed like a really dumb thing to, like, don't presume a male audience. And, like, at a certain point, we'll have to do this whole episode where we talk about gender and roguelikes, because I think in some cases, like, roguelikes actually do make a really interesting case in some cases where you pick that gender, and it does have an impact on the way certain things will interact with you. And I mean, that's still questionable whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Like, it would be interesting to see, like, wider range of choices in those things, but
right, like NetHack. It's basically just pregnancy, right? That's like the only thing. That's like the ability to become pregnant is the only difference between.
Yeah, or like, I don't know.
Or the ability to be a Valkyrie. Like, you have to be able to be a Valkyrie, and you have to be a woman to be able to, like, lay eggs.
Yeah, or like the incubi or succubi. I don't know if like, if you are a male, if an incubus will even show up.
No, it won't. So yeah, it is heteronormative. Heteronormative in that sense.
It'd be interesting just to make a NetHack fork that just all it does is queer the incubi and succubi.
I'd be surprised if that didn't exist, actually.
Yeah.
I'm writing up show notes, so I'll write a note to see if that exists.
Yeah. So yeah, I met Mark finally, and he was really excited. I think that someone recognized him, or was surprised at least. So, like, he and I were, like, excitedly chatting because I was at least 2 drinks into the evening, and So we were like excitedly chatting, and yeah, that was the one downside to commuting was like, you know, Jason and Mike and I got into the car, and I was like, why are we leaving? I want to go and have more beers and talk about roguelikes. So yeah, it was yeah, CGSA was awesome, I guess.
It's generally frowned upon to pass out on the convention hotel couch.
Yeah, still, I don't know. It was an open bar after the second night, which was kind of awesome. But nice. We had one beer and we were like, well, time to go, I guess. But it was really, it was good. It was good because A, no one gave me shit for my thing where I was kind of just ranting.
Yeah.
Where after like a series of very, very academically focused papers, I was mostly like, here are some things that I'm working on, and I'm in the process of kind of reworking the way I was approaching the stuff with Bactine and working it into unit operations. And I got a whole bunch of tweets from people who were like, have you read Wittgenstein? And I was like, no. And they were like, well, you should. And I was like, okay. So it was that. And then Daniel Joseph was talking about, he did a blog post after like his talk, which was at the same time as mine, which is unfortunate because I really wanted to see his. And he was talking about like actor network theory, and that seems interesting in terms of looking at the roguelike genre as not just a genre, or like is it a genre or is it a subgenre? Is there a meaningful distinction? I would say no, and I would say that the term roguelike is still useful if you're describing sort of the devout people that are part, like they consider themselves part of a development community. You know, like that.
Yeah. So, I've looked at actor network theory a bit, and I guess I don't really understand like where the connections.
So like the actor network theory kind of takes the idea. It's very similar to unit operations, and actually, Alien Phenomenology, which is a book that Bogus recently put out, like 2011, kind of extending a bit of the stuff that he did in unit operations. Where he talks a lot about object-oriented ontology and stuff like that. He kind of brings in a bit of actor network theory. Actor network theory is essentially there are discrete material and semiotic things that that are basically, it's all about dialogue. Like it's the meaning in the relationship between these things. And at a certain point, it's actors all the way down. Like everything is kind of interconnected in this way. And it's more of a descriptive thing than it is and it's not.
Yeah.
You can't use this to marshal a complete argument necessarily, or you can.
Right.
I think.
Well, I've studied it in the sense of cognitive science.
Yeah.
Basically, the idea that like to understand a working system, like you need to like break everything out into a network of things that are all acting on each other. It's been a semester since then, and
so yeah. So the way, like, again, I read T.L. Taylor's Assemblage of Play, where they kind of talk a little bit about actor network theory, and the part that I like about it, because I'm still at the early stages, is it brings in the human component that Bogos doesn't necessarily touch on in unit operations, in that, like the idea that roguelikes produce their players. It's not just a one-way thing. It's not like the developers produce the roguelike.
Okay, I get it, yeah.
And like there's kind of an overlapping category between people who play roguelikes and people who develop them, but at a certain point, you know, developers probably have a far more open mind about that stuff than the players do. The players have a stronger vested interest in keeping roguelikes a discrete, keeping it their thing. Whereas obviously a developer wants to go and push that definition as far as they can.
Or at the very least, distinguish their roguelike from others.
Yeah. So yeah, it just kind of, and at a certain point, this led to me like messaging Jason and Mike and said, like, what is the difference between actor network theory or like assemblage theory and unit operations? And both of them went, there's not a huge definition. It just depends, or difference, but it just depends on what they're coming from. Like, you know, actor network theory is far more aligned with like sociology than it is with game studies. But I found stuff where they talk about actor network theory in the constellation of like information systems and their version of genre theory, which they kind of adapted from literary genre theory. But I guess at a certain point, like looking at these mechanics, these like constituent parts that are talked about in the Berlin interpretation, at a certain point, those things don't mean anything in and of themselves. It's the thing that you put them into and how they interface with each other that kind of creates the meaning and gives you that more roguelike feeling from it.
Yeah.
And that's where I think, the procedural Death Labyrinth is far more equipped to talk about that, especially in terms of literally the way that it's worded, because the procedurality is kind of what brings you to the game. But I think it's the function of that permadeath that kind of acts on the player in terms of like forcing you back into another procedural labyrinth essentially. So like the game essentially hinges on this ever looming threat of permadeath.
Well, I mean, if procedural Death Labyrinth player is a high level. Well, okay, you're ignoring the developer in that equation, but it's still kind of a high level actor network in and of itself. Just that phrase.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, I guess in terms of like looking at game development as a perpetual state of adaptation, which at a certain point, I guess I should, like, full disclosure, I'm taking a class on Lord of the Rings and adaptation. I have to get to level 30 in Lord of the Rings Online. This is also like a course.
That's still going. That's still up.
That was everyone's response. I think it was just like, really? That's still a thing?
Yeah, like I know the same company did Dungeons and Dragons Online.
And DDO was kind of alright. Like I'm not an MMO person at all.
Yeah, I played it when it went free to play, and it was okay.
Yeah, it's fine. So at a certain point, I'm just like, okay, well, I don't really care. Like, I like the movies. I don't really care about them. I like Lord of the Rings, or I don't necessarily like... I'm okay with Lord of the Rings Online. I will tolerate it. I probably want to play it again, because I think I have the Secret World sitting on my hard drive. I would much rather go and delve into that, because I think it does some weird, interesting things.
Telling me to play that. I have so many reservations about paying a subscription for a game when... It doesn't
have a subscription.
Oh, it doesn't?
Yeah, it's...
Oh, yeah, they took that away. That's right.
They took that away. Like, I mean, they're still releasing weird content packs, but you can kind of get them piecemeal, or you can sign up for a $9 a month or whatever. I hope that continues on for a bit. But I lost interest with it the moment that it started behaving far more like an MMO than less like a weird X-Files episode. But anyways, Angband, for example, takes its name directly from... I think Morgoth's citadel in the Silmarillion, and I did not realize that. But yeah, like in the original Angband, you had to get to the bottom level and fight a Balrog. You are Gandalf in that fucking game, just without necessarily the powers.
Right.
So yeah, I might at a certain point look at Lord of the Rings as sort of being like scenes of it getting weirdly made, like adapted into game mechanics, and then having those game mechanics get adapted into other games. Like Elbereth actually is a scene that recurs throughout the series, and essentially the characters say Elbereth, and it actually like forces evil monsters back. Like it actually forces them to stop, which is really fascinating. Like they added this whole engraving mechanic specifically to make this reference to Lord of the Rings. Which is, at a certain point you start looking at, like, you could make the argument that all RPGs are somewhat predicated on Lord of the Rings because Dungeons and Dragons borrowed so heavily from Lord of the Rings. But I think in NetHack's case and in some other cases, I think at a certain point in certain text games and, ASCII games, partially I think because of the ethos where, like, everything goes, and we'll see that in Sanctuary RPG. Like, I'm bringing this... I know we've been staring at this screen for, like... for 30 minutes. Holy crap.
Twitch video stream, the audio podcast.
Yeah, where we just rant. Yeah. So anybody who's watching, I feel real bad for you.
Hopefully they just put the tab in the background and have waited for us to say the word Sanctuary RPG.
Yeah.
But...
there's a couple people actually watching, so
hey.
Thanks for sticking with us.
Yeah.
Maybe one other person?
I know one of them's me. And one of them's probably you.
Yeah, so there's one other person. So whoever you are, strange. I hope it's the Sanctuary RPG people just kind of feeling really bummed that we're not talking about their game.
I figured it was Jason or something.
I don't imagine so. He's probably busy around this time of night. I don't know. So
the viewer list isn't loading for me, so who knows?
Yeah. Hello, mystery viewer. I don't know. I had people randomly subscribe to the YouTube channel at some point, so I don't know.
Yeah. Well, episodes again.
So yeah, I don't know. It's like a whole lot of stuff that I'm twirling around in my head. At some point in time, I'll probably, for one of my projects, we'll probably wind up doing let's talk about roguelikes and Lord of the Rings, and talk about Tales of Magil was Tales of Middle Earth up until 2.35.
Yeah,
and then they were like, let's make this a consumer product. Let's strip out all of the references to Tolkien.
Oh gosh, I'm just thinking about all RPGs coming from Tolkien. That's just such a Western Western centric point of view. But that
absolutely
we cannot keep this. We cannot keep doing this.
Yes,
tangents upon tangents upon tangents. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. No, you were right to point that out, though. Looking at JRPGs and stuff like that, there is, at one point I'll have to understand enough of Ilona to talk about that, because that's a weird. Well, it's not a weird. It is a JRPG roguelike. I feel like all roguelikes are weird in their own little fantastic ways. But I remember there was one person who got real huffy with me when I was talking about Teleglitch as a roguelike, even though the developers themselves refer to it as a roguelike. And the one takeaway that I had from that was that Ilona is a thing that exists, and it's kind of weird.
Yeah, man, that person is going to have a fit when we finally do a paranautical activity.
Yep. I have that, and I got Rogue Shooter.
They just released the new update, but no multiplayer yet. I think we just hold off on that until we can co-op it.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
I also picked up Heavy Bullets.
Mm-hmm.
Which that looks kind of neat.
Nice.
It's a really graphically stylized game, but.
And while we're talking about future episodes, at some point I want to do, when you and I were both separately talking about roguelike streams at one point, and one of the things that came up with mine was dying. Yeah, no, you mentioned this, dying in creative ways. So at some point I would like to do NetHack Jackass. We just try to do incredibly stupid things in NetHack and see how it turns out for us.
All right.
But
yeah, and I would gleefully go back to WazHack at some point. I still pick that game up a lot because I don't know. There's something about its presentation that really charms me.
There's so much to NetHack. All right.
No, absolutely.
Anyway.
And there's plenty of stuff. I like the idea of one of us making a dwarf fortress, and then the other one entering that dwarf fortress via adventure mode, but that's a commitment of about 40 hours to get that done.
Our viewer gave up.
Yeah. Oh.
So we should probably...
All right. Yeah, let's...
Sorry, I cracked up there, had to mute. Let's play Sanctuary. You have clearly played more of this than I have. I have 145 experience and 1 enemy slain. So
yeah, so we'll give this a shot. Or do we can. I wonder if I can make a second new character.
I think so. If you press campaign,
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
All right, let's go through the character creation process and see how this goes. I will do a paladin. I have not really played with a whole lot of things aside from the barbarian, because that seems like the most survivable class. Nobody understands the angsty paladin. Not even... I don't understand. They make a lot of references to potatoes in this game. Despite all my rage, I'm still just a rat of a page. Okay. You still remember that time? You embarrassed yourself as a kid, you wish monsters would just leave you alone and leave you be. I'm going to tweet just briefly, and just in case that was Sanctuary RPG, in case they're bored of waiting for us. Alright, now we will talk about... We promise.
Let's see.
There we go.
I gave you the password to the Death of the Roguelike Twitter, right?
I don't think so.
I thought I did. I'll send it to you again after this.
Sure. So yeah, okay. Apparently the paladin is very angsty.
Yeah.
Sanctuary, Sanctuary
Okay.
RPG is like it's this weird intersection between like a text adventure game and kind of a roguelike. It's super strange, and I kind of love it as a result. It's free, by the way. It's done by Black Shell Games.
Whoa. So I'm starting a ranger over here.
Oh, yeah?
There's nothing more sensual than a ranger waiting in the woods.
Of course.
You lure your prey into the forest with giggles and hand waves. Few people you killed died incredibly happy, you're sure. You're pretty big into penetration with sharpened potatoes. I'm not sure what to do with this.
So that was Sanctuary RPG, everybody.
Yep, alright, good night. Good night, everybody.
Yeah. Fiscal responsibility for a paladin starts with conserving mana when MP is about 50%. I'm not going to view the detailed perks, but they definitely always speak lady. Alright, let's just call her Mina as well, because I clearly don't select augment. So this is where it kind of, you have 3 different game modes. You have classic mode, which is no respawns, death is permanent. Max item drop rate. Softcore, death is just a major setback, minus 20% item drop rate, And survival, how many battles can you win? One thing that I brought up was, like during my talk, was like in terms of, you can learn a lot about the type of roguelike by the way that it handles permadeath. Because if it's a commercial product, they will try to like gloss over the painful aspects of, you have put X amount of hours into this character and it has died.
Yeah.
Or in this case, it's okay. Well, it like just surfaces the fact that you were gambling. That you like, the more you put yourself at risk, the better drop you're going to get. But it's possible you could lose it all.
Another important thing is that it's optional.
Yeah, and that's really key. And I don't know, I'll go with sleep, because the grants immunity to poison status effects. All right, let's just do this real quick.
In the meantime, while that's going, while we're watching the intro cinematic, Rangers prefer to stalk enemies from the shadows while eating salmon. When ult is fully charged, dodge chances increase 3-fold. And let me show you how to stop someone dead in their tracks. Guided arrow will interrupt charging enemies. Yeah.
That seems alright. I've found some pretty cool bows and arrows. I just have not used them.
I just viewed the detailed perks. It hurts so good, doesn't it? Oh yeah, that's the spot. You like that? Right there? Tell me where it hurts. Hey, you're an easy one. I'll keep an eye out for you. You don't like hickeys? Too bad, I love them. 5% chance I apply them more.
So, I feel like the ranger just wears a fedora all the time?
Yeah, oh my god. Nothing hurts more than a branch to the face. Okay, that's whatever. I always get what I want. Man says 100% fair chance. Hell hath no fury like a lover scorned.
Yep.
Baby, I feel invincible when you're around. I bet you feel awful for that. Get on your knees and apologize.
Sanctuary RPG is losing me.
The third time is always it's riposte and adrenal smash, freeze enemies on crit. The third time is always the charm. 1 second I have to go powder my nose.
If this game didn't have so much ASCII art, I would be giving it an awful lot of side eye right now. Actually, I still am. The ASCII art doesn't excuse it, but right now it's keeping me from closing the game. I can
still choose my gender. Well, okay, sex. I'm sorry. Okay, whatever. Difference between sex and gender.
Yeah.
Patch this, guys. All right. Oh.
Yeah, and like setting up the matron as the final boss seems a bit strange. Apparently we're getting an odd echo on Harrison's mic. I'm not necessarily noticing that.
That's I am in, and I just moved, and I am in a room that's currently mostly empty. So that would be the walls in this room. So sorry about that, miniature catfish, but I'll have some bookshelves and stuff in here to dampen the echo eventually. Or is it rebounding off of Rob's mic?
I have headphones on, so it should.
Okay, sound good. Yeah. Okay, not a big deal. Cool.
So yeah.
Suddenly, a bearded woman appears dressed only in a robe and stilettos.
Yeah. The part that I really like is this wall of text that shows up is actually kind of procedurally handled. Like it's not really. It's just randomly created. So you were born to a family of cobblers. You have no soul. Raised by a court jester, your favorite song is Jingle Bells. Laughing at starving orphans has always been your biggest regret. One to enjoy wildlife. You can tell the gender of most animals at a glance. An hour ago, you still had the speedwalking champion on your bucket list. Your tongue tastes like chicken. You almost decide to eat it. Suddenly, a bearded woman appears. And the lady, yes. Unsure of the woman's intentions, you ask her what she wants of you. This is your story. You there. Take these items. I'm not sure who gave them to me, but they're items.
Yay, items.
Yay! Alright, I guess I'll have... so this is also just, like, yeah, the item drops are completely random.
It's not a bow.
Gate 16. Measly blue slime inches towards you. So the way that combat is handled here is you have a variety of like inputs for different attacks. So these 1, 2, 3, 4 are your different attacks, and then you're like stringing together combos. So I did the first attack, and I can reposition if I want, or I can EX Smite Flurry. And then I can do Divine Justice. And then there's like a finisher. And that does a bit more damage. This is the tutorial battle, so I'm going to try to run through this tonight because I've fought it a lot.
This actually reminds me kind of, did you look at or even possibly back, something in Beatdown City. Treachery in Beatdown City.
I did not?
It's a tactical side-scrolling brawler. I'll add it to the show notes. So aesthetically and everything, it's a brawler, but you have this, like, whenever you like attack someone, it stops, and you have this combo system, kind of turn-based combo system, kind of like this game's.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Alright, I just got some armor.
I'm not going to play the intro cinematic.
Vitality, strength, intelligence. MP is apparently the big thing. And I'm going to assign those mastery points later. So those are all mastery points. Here I can press R and heal, but I only have 3 uses before I level up again. Or I search the grassy fields. So this is kind of a random encounter sort of thing. Find a syringe, use it. What's the worst that could happen?
Hey, that's how Bioshock starts.
Yeah. And that kind of makes me think of NetHack in terms of just these random... Just use this thing, see how that goes. And then if you keep an eye on the screen, sometimes there'll be like an X or an 8. And that's a secret thing that you can encounter. That's an event. A gigantic crate can be found lying on the ground. Break it open or walk away.
Break it open.
Powerful enemy leaps from the crate.
Crap.
Cynthia is a relatively attractive woman.
Okay.
This may not go real well, which is probably for the best.
Doing all right.
I'm going to reposition. I'm going to... So, yeah, there will be status effects where you can get ensnared and then you have to break free. If they guard, you have to reposition yourself. And repositioning also restores HP, apparently.
MP, or does it? Or
It does HP for the paladin, but
Paladin.
MP for the barbarian. Minion slam. I'm gonna get real rotten here. Okay, there we go.
My name is Jen. I am a ranger of Gorn descent. You were born to a pair of thespians. No, thespians. Raised by a hedgehog, you love gold rings way too much. Not being all you can be has always been your biggest regret. When to enjoy scatting, your friends never invite you over. This morning, you contemplated the meaning of life, the universe, and all. Your tongue tastes like chicken, blah, blah, blah. Out of nowhere, a woman appears in front of you and begins to hum. Unsure if you're seeing an illusion, you punch yourself in the groin. This is your story. Ooh, you are not doing good.
Yeah, I just died.
Oh.
Yeah, Miniature Catfish also said, I'm glad this game keeps you informed about the status of your penis. It's super important how attractive female characters are.
Yeah, well, I actually played I actually picked a female. So, just totally random. Unknown Stranger feels my pain while you're making a new character.
I'll load up the character that I've...
Yeah.
So, at a certain point, you wind up fighting a terminal, which is like a robot, essentially. So, you can kind of grind on the grassy fields at some point. You will... you then fight the boss monster, and then it unlocks the rogue camp where you can go and fight. So it's, I'm level... I don't know what level I am. Offhand. I might be level 6.
Just hit C.
Oh yeah. Okay, so I'm level 6. I got a pike.
Nice.
Speaking of, Mina, the cat that I named myself after is being a jerk. Normal mesh armor, which is not super great. Normal targe shield. Lightning Gigambra trophy, which is like a charm. And clearly I've pumped most of my points into vitality and strength, because I'm a barbarian. That's what you're supposed to do. So let's fight the rogue camp. Bandit Weaver has slapped you in the face. Vampiric enemies will heal continuously. I am temporarily blinded. Which is weird. Oh, okay. I was blinded by the last... So this may also go real rotten for me.
Blinded by the road.
Go.
Set up like a tourist, gonna use my credit card.
Okay, I'm not blinded anymore, so that's good.
That's cool. Not being blinded is awesome.
Yeah. Oops, I did not need... Well, actually, that was not a bad idea.
As the ranger, I have guided arrow, multi-shot, and tail. Wait.
There we go.
But my weapon is a mace. The weapon I start with is a mace, so I don't know how this works.
The weapon drops are random. So...
Right. But then how... What's guided arrow? I'm not even gonna...
Yeah, I think you need to use that when you have a bow and arrow equipped.
No, it works.
Oh, Miniature Catfish was saying being blinded covers your menu. That's amusing, and I was like, yeah, that's that's kind of an interesting take on that.
Yeah.
You keep your health between fights. Stranger, I'm going to keep this short. The Brotherhood wants Lissa dead. Take this syringe into the tavern and inject her with it. Report back to me after the deed. You will be rewarded generously. All right, let's be terrible people. Kill Lissa or 5 warn Lissa. Do I want to see how bad this game gets with that stuff, or...
Academia is not about blissful ignorance.
Yeah, let's see how... Let's go down this rabbit hole. I'm sorry, Lissa.
You now
gain ownership of the tavern. What am I doing? What is this game turned into?
Oh wait, no, it's turned into a tavern sim.
This is Tapper, the text game? Okay.
That is what it looks like, yeah.
Alright, well, let's restock the beer. And upgrade the tavern. This game got real weird. Let's sell the beer. Let's restock the beer. Alright, there we go. Okay.
I mean, you're gaining gold out of this.
This is super strange.
What's the shared stash?
I don't know. I'm kind of afraid.
Is that like a maybe something you can like deposit items in and give them to other characters?
Maybe. I just made a shit ton of money. Let's.
Dude, like,
I can deposit the silver key, or I can withdraw the silver key.
Okay.
I'm just gonna hang up on that.
Hello, this is definitely Roguelike.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I'll deposit the silver key because.
I don't know. Open the gift box.
There's nothing in the gift box, so. I don't know. Okay, there's now patrons waiting. Okay.
What?
Let's upgrade the tavern.
You have a greater tavern.
Okay.
Dude, keep renovating that. See what happens.
Okay.
No, I don't. Okay, I don't want to waste all your money, but
yeah, let's go back.
Let's see what's. Okay.
I've leveled up.
Oh, apparently.
Okay. Why did I level up? Because I killed Lissa, or because I served a whole bunch of people?
Both? Maybe? What if we walked into?
I don't know. I don't understand anything anymore.
What's even real?
Yeah. Oh. Okay, well.
You have a passive skill point.
I guess I should. I don't know. Let's upgrade my armor. Let's pump more mastery points into that. I guess let's go back to the rogue camp and see what they say. I see teach has been done very well. Then take this for your troubles. So yeah, that's the. Okay, that's.
What?
Yeah, my old chart was far better, so I'm gonna just salvage this. I've obtained some rawhide. I've seen about everything. I ain't never seen a gladius fly. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, so yeah, you can if you string combos together, you can get a an ultimate, which is useless to. It's not really particularly good to use against like a skeleton like this, because for the most part, they're pretty trivial foes. Let's go to the tavern. No patrons to serve. Okay. Okay. It just seems to increase the amount of beer. I wonder if I warn Lissa and she just leaves and then leaves the bar to me.
Maybe. But then you might get attacked whenever you go back to the rogue camp. Maybe.
Fast imposing bandit slasher directly in front of you. Okay. Oh, wait. Oh, okay. Well, let's do this.
You have bleeding 4.
So I just did I used my ult, and that seemed to work real well. I'm gonna heal myself. Kill the bandit slasher. So it kind of just goes on like this for a while. Bandit lackey is in the distance growling. I've been snuck up on. That's...
Charging toward you.
I have reflected 0 damage.
Can you okay, so the riposte is for when you're when they charge.
Yeah, I think so. There are apparently no tavern related skills to upgrade, and then a skeleton just showed up. And I've leveled up.
Yay.
There we go.
Okay. Name's Diane. Take the grass here to the north. Okay.
To find my way through the Lost Woods. Oh, there we go. I'm now at the Lost Woods. Which...
Nice.
Okay. Yes, hello. Mina, this is really not an opportune time. Oh, there we go. I got patrons waiting.
Do they just like sit around to wait for you to come back and tend bar?
I guess so. They just hang out, feeling really thirsty. All right. Oh, and yeah, I get experience every time I serve a patron. This game is exceedingly strange. I should stuff the matron with a potato. Thanks.
What? Thanks, Harlem Globetrotter?
Yeah. Bandit Elite is resting ahead. And now I'm blinded, of course.
Ooh, I got a normal dinosaur token over here.
Sweet. I'm gonna heal. That's probably... So I found a rusted gate. I don't know what level I need to be. I'm currently level 8. I would imagine I need to be at least level 10.
Probably.
Let's just walk through this again. Smiter enemies will drain your MP Rage ult. Good to know. Opened. I like that some of these seem to be taken from, like, Diablo characters, apparently.
Probably.
One thing you want to do if they're charging at you is to reposition yourself. Oops, I have not enough MP.
Should we play with Diablo 2 at some point?
Possibly.
Like, it's not permadeath, but
Yeah. But
it has a lot of its qualities. It'd be an interesting discussion at the very least.
yeah. I mean, especially the first Diablo absolutely was predicated after hack.
I have that one. I've never played it. I opened up the battle box, the Diablo battle box, and immediately popped Diablo 2 in because that's what all my friends are talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually really have maybe more fond memories of the first Diablo. You're flipping out here, so get down. Oh, there we go. Good. I got better armor.
Hint: a group of slimes is called Easy Experience Points.
Sure. An empowered raven has thrown a potato at my head.
What is with potatoes?
I don't understand. This is the first time I really started paying attention to it. But it's super strange.
What are we? What?
Yeah, what are we doing? What indeed? There we go.
Welcome back to Death of the Roguelike.
Yeah. Yeah. Welcome back to Death of the Roguelike. I don't know if this game even fits with what we're doing. There's
permadeath. It's not really labyrinth though. We're kind of it's procedural kind of. There's death, but there's not really a labyrinth as such, except for maybe the hidden event thingies.
I feel like the candy box-esque progression is very labyrinth-ish, labyrinthine.
Yeah, it's a potatoes and the miniature catfish. Potatoes and the Berlin interpretation.
Yeah, well, and one thing that Mark Johnson brought up was in his semiotics of the roguelike is the idea of is this sort of a coded sense of nostalgia, and I feel like Sanctuary RPG and some hardline classical or traditional roguelikes absolutely play into that. He does go on to say that that's not necessary for the game to be a roguelike, but it certainly is an aspect of some of that roguelike development where you're trying to appeal to the people who played Zork, or I don't even know this. I don't even know if this necessarily even fits with that. It's not a parser. Yeah. It is a parser, but it's mostly, I don't know. It's super strange, and it's really weird that I get why not a lot of people are necessarily talking about it, but it's this free game that's out there that there's a lot to it. People put some work into this. I still don't know. I don't know. They said
on their page it said over 10,000 hours.
Yeah, and they've updated it every week since it came out, or every other week. It's been crazy.
Okay, I got an event. It's a floating ghost. Oh. A floating ghost is up ahead. I can talk to it, slice it in half, milk that ghost in all caps, or I can walk away.
I would milk the ghost.
I'm gonna milk the ghost. That was my... Ask why you're milking it, and then spits acid at you.
Okay. Are you fighting the ghost now?
No, I just took a bunch of damage.
Oh, well that's crony. So, after hacking your way through the rogue camp, you spot a man in a blood-stained white coat. You quickly realize that he must... I must charge him, weapon raised in the air. Or I charge him, weapon raised in the air. He flees, running to the old side door of the town's monastery. He desperately struggles to open the gate. Sorry?
Is this a Cave Story reference? Are we playing Cave Story now?
Maybe. He draws a knife from his coat, lunging for your jugular. So there's footsteps. Why are there 3 of him? The boss's meter will increase as the battle rages on. If you stun when the meter is filled, it will deplete the meter. If the bar is filled, the boss will trample you. Don't worry, dear, this will be quick. That's a lot of HP.
That is exactly 10 times the amount of XP you have.
I feel like that's purposeful. Shit. Uh-oh. Oh god.
Well, you seem to be making short work of. Is there health?
Yeah, I'm trying to dodge them as best I can. I still got trampled. Oop.
Empowered Raven has kicked you in the shin.
I seem to continue to keep my MP up, which is good. Okay. Alright. Okay. Shit. Okay, I got a crushing blow. Let's do that. That did not do as much as I was hoping. Okay. I can feral crush them if I want. Alright, let's just do that. There we go. Killed the doctor. So many notes to take. How about I give you 50% of my profits? What?
What?
75%. What? Not wanting to hear the rest, you stab the doctor in the face. I'm kind of an asshole.
Yeah, a little bit.
I got a soul shard. Been waiting for you a while now. So good of you to join us. You are weak, but I will empower you with the strength of a thousand suns. Just so you know, just know that you must repay your debts, all of them. What? Okay, I can choose discipline now. I like the idea of confusing an enemy upon attack.
That's fun. It'll be just like what this game's doing to us.
Yeah, I think that's... yeah, do unto the game as the game's doing... Oh man, that's a real nice dirk. I will equip it. Obtained a wood splint.
I just died. Already. Too bad, we should have had a doctoring mini-game.
Currently in need of 1 palladium. Okay. Is there a place I can... There we go. I can retrain my masteries. Let me give you a nice concussion. I hope that didn't hurt too much. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. I feel like I'm gazing into a...
Oh no, we got 6 people in the tavern, apparently, according to Miniature Catfish.
A horrifying hole. Yes.
Oh, what's the Coliseum? What? Oh, Arena. Twisted Keys.
Oh, weird. Yeah, I can't see the viewers list for some reason. There's 6 followers. I think Miniature Catfish is the only person currently watching.
Yeah. No. There was 6 people in the tavern. Like.
Oh. I should go back to the tavern. Oh yeah. Okay,
so you should get some health.
Good catch. Oh yeah, I should get a lot of health.
Did that happen when he hit you over the head so you could reassign your
flashbacks?
Yeah. This game.
Alright. I'm gonna wait on upgrading the tavern, but I leveled up, so hey. I don't need to get health, because I just leveled up. I don't know. There we go.
So I'm trying to think about how we can like bring this back around to our like original game studies goal, but I just can't.
I don't know where to start.
Like,
I honestly
don't. We talk about it from a feminist perspective and have a very uncomfortable conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like at a certain point I'm just playing this game and getting deep, and I could just keep going because I want. I will say this: I have misgivings about the way it handles gender, but I'm kind of deep in enough now where I will be really sad when I die because it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I've had those random like I was at half health and then I just got destroyed.
Yeah, that happened to me earlier.
But at a certain point, I'm running out of things to say. Aside from this is really strange, and we're also running at like an hour now, so
yeah,
I'm okay with calling it because this sandwich has been staring at me for the better part of an hour, and I'd like to put my mouth on it. Sorry, well, I got distracted.
That. Look, all right, stay. So, have a good night.
Yeah. Miniature Catfish, you understand the interface perfectly. It was 6 people in the tavern. I guess I should talk about the black. Yeah, it's Black Shell Games at Itch.io, which apparently Itch.io is down. So
yeah. I think you can also go to Black Shell
Games. I don't think we did that. I don't think that was us.
All right, I'll put that in the show notes.
Oh, cool.
And, I guess we'll just consolidate with that with whatever you post you write. Although didn't you just post number 5?
I posted a whole bunch on my Tumblr because I totally forgotten that I'd done that. I have to redo the Desktop Dungeons one with M because I think the audio quality was a wreck. But all the other ones should be on my Tumblr. And I imagine actually keeping show notes as we're going along is probably a far better idea than trying to remember what I was talking about.
It's what every other podcast does, so...
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
That was weird.
Yeah, this is really strange.
Weird. Welcome back to Death of the Roguelike, everyone.
Yeah. I'm jazzed that this was our first thing that we did to come back.
All right.
I really hope Mark gets some stuff done on Ultima Ratio Regem so that we can have him on to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you can go and download the alpha right now, but there's like at most you look at the universe generation system, and you look at all the different factions that are randomly created, and all the factions like banners that are randomly created. And then, like, the game starts and you press E, and you just you can read an entire empire's history that is just kind of randomly created, which is super ambitious. When I was talking to him about some of the things that he's implementing, you'll, like, go into a town and talk to, family members of a great hero or something like that, and he's working on the graveyard. So they'll talk about, like, oh, so-and-so committed great deeds with whatever, and they were buried with their sword. And so then, if you know what faction they were from and a few other things and, like, where they were buried, you can go and dig up their corpse and get their special weapon or some artifact or something like that.
Huh.
It's super ambitious.
Nice. All right.
It also seems a little bit shady in terms of just
I'm just like it's like yeah.
He's
Great Brother's fun.
Inspired by George Louis Borges and a few other authors. Neil Stevenson, I think, is one of them.
Nice.
So yeah, some of his blog updates are just like, for some reason they're just putting prisons inside, like around people's houses, and a bunch of other weird stuff. So interesting guy. Kind of incredible. He's like in mid-20s or whatever, and finishing his PhD, and also developing this super ambitious game, which is kind of crazy. Again, like remind me that I am particularly awful at existing in the world, because people seem to have this stuff far better put together than I do.
You have a show.
Yeah, that's true.
We have a show. It's mostly your show.
Well, yeah.
Whatever. Anyway, we said we were going to go to bed.
Yeah, we should go. I should go and play Mario Kart and not think about Sanctuary RPG. But I feel like I'm going to have some very odd dreams tonight. And thank you, as always, Miniature Catfish. It's good to see you back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good night.